the end of the day, like, we're there to help people, and when you lead with service, when you go on that seller appointment with the service in mind, that look, we're there really truly to create a solution for your problem. What's ironic about that is you end up getting a better deal as a result. You end up putting a win-win situation together as a result. You do end up helping them as a result, but you end up helping yourself as well, right? Sure. Which is interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, I know you want to talk a little bit about that as well, and your experience with that, and your experience with helping a few sellers that you have in the past. I mean, you've been in this business for a long time.
I've been in the business for 15 years on the retail side. I've been doing it for 9 months on the wholesale side. But no matter what side that you're on, whether if you're looking at, gave us some new construction and new builds as well, and rehabs, same thing that we do. But no matter what side that you're on, you have to understand that everyone that we're speaking to and everyone that may call us and contact us, they're calling us for some reason. And when we really listen to what it is, the reason that they're calling, we can dig into that, we'll be able to come up with a solution no matter what. And whether if we sit there, if we walk out of the meeting with a deal or we don't, we're still going to be able to sit there and help them solve a problem. And when you help someone that comes to you, when you help them solve a problem, you're going to have people that are raving fans of yours. They're going to recommend you to other people that are out there. And all it's going to do is that it's going to help you focus on the growth and the longevity of your business. When you sit there and focus on the now and what's in it for me now, what's in it for them right now, what can I do right now, that doesn't help you with longevity of the business. But when you're really solving their problems, that's what's going to help you focus on the growth of your business. It's going to help you expand exponentially like that. And it's going to have you stick around. And when the times in this business and the cycles of the business go up and down and up and down, we see that all the time. But the people that are focused on longevity and they're focused on growth and they're focused on where they're going to be at and how they're going to build the business and where the business is going to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, that's what's going to keep us around. That's what's going to keep us busy and keep people coming back to us to help them solve the problems.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I always find so one of the things that key takeaways is we're always trying to learn from our failures, right? And I don't know, I hate using the word failure. A lot of people use that word failure. Like, a failure is catastrophic. You can't come back from it, right? I like fuck-ups better, right? Like, we didn't have fuck-ups, right? You can fuck up and you can come back. You always learn from fuck-ups, right? So you can stumble and then you can learn from it and then you can come back. So we go on appointments and you don't get the contract or you don't get the price or you don't get whatever it is. Like, it didn't work for whatever way, shape, or form. The first thing I ask is, well, what was the situation? Right? And a lot of times the answer is what, Mark? Like, they come back and they didn't know, right?
Yeah.
So the challenge is, like, what I find is, and we say this a lot, you're going to hear me say over and over and over again in this office, is this. Ask better questions, okay? So in this business, guys, when we're out there talking to sellers specifically, I don't care who it is. It's me, it's you're talking to your other teammates, it's you're talking to anyone around you. If you want to get to a solution, if you want to help people create a solution, if you want to help get to deeper levels of communication and figure out what's going on, figure out how you can create a win-win, figure out anything, right? It's just asking better questions.
And I think a part of that too, when you look at ask better questions, a way to do that is, and I've told this to people for years, whenever you get done an appointment, whenever you get done a meeting, you need to have 5 to 15 minutes, depending on the length of the appointment, depending on the circumstance of the appointment. Take 5 to 15 minutes for self-reflection. Sit in your car, disappear somewhere, finish a cup of coffee, if it's a coffee meeting, and just sit back and think about what took place for the last 15 minutes, the last hour that you're on the appointment. And you have to reflect on the appointment, reflect on yourself, and that's when you're going to sit there and really think about what it is and how that meeting flowed. You're going to think about, and you'll really hone in more on some of the things that they said. And when you do, that's going to trigger to understand, all right, well, you know what? I should have asked this question. I should have asked that question. And that's going to help you understand some of the questions that you need to ask. That's going to help arrive at some of the, some more solutions, more creative solutions they have. But without the self-reflection, it's going to be challenging to sit there and understand what better question you'll be able to ask.
And it's so powerful because that's when fucking up, falling down to get better, that's the only way you're going to get better next time, right? Is understanding what you did wrong on that appointment is so powerful because it's going to get you a little bit better. In fact, I did a video about this last week. It's the 50-50 rule, right? Like, if you set yourself a monetary goal, let's say for year one, I want to make $100,000. And let's say you only make $65,000 in year one. Well, that's okay. If 50% of your focus is on the financial gain, as long as 50% of your focus is on the learning gain, right? Because If that's your goal year one, then year two, you should be able to make 150 based on what you learned in year one, right? Because that exponential growth is like an avalanche. You know, you learn something on that appointment, you learn something on the next appointment, you learn something on the next appointment. By the time you have those reps under your belt, it's like anything you train at, right? If you're training to hit a baseball, or you're training to box, or you're training to do any sport or activity, training to golf, right? Well, golf might be a bad example because I've been golfing for 10 years, I'm still making better.
It's not going to help.
But like, you train to do something, repetition. Mark, like you said, you decide, I didn't ask that question. Guys, it's the same type of appointment over and over and over and over again. Once you decide that I didn't ask that question, well shit, you're not going to not ask that question 100 times later. Hopefully, you learn from your mistakes. So when you go back on that appointment again a year from now, you're going to be rock solid, confident, on your game, asking every question, creating solutions, not messing up anything, hopefully, right?
Right.
So you're 100%.
Yeah. I mean, you learn, you grow. You fuck up, you grow. But it's funny that you sit there and talk about golf, and you can't really say golf because I've been golfing since I was a kid, and I still fucking hit balls all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm only going out 3-4 times a year.
Well, that's true too.
Now, I'm not going out every day, and I'm not doing it every single day.
Yeah.
I've been on thousands of listing appointments in my career. And when you sit there and you're approaching, whether you go out on a listing appointment, you go out on a seller's appointment, you go to a buyer consultation, that appointment, how you set that up in your head is how you're going to come out in the end. When you go in and you understand that you have a solutions appointment, when you understand that, you're approaching that appointment completely different, right? You have a listing appointment. You go out on a listing appointment, your objective is to list that property. Doesn't mean you're going to solve the problem. Doesn't mean that you're going to sit there and actually sell the property. Doesn't mean you're going to close the deal. You're going out and you're focused on getting a listing contract signed, and that's it. Right? You're not focused on solving what their problem is because you're not hearing it. When the only thing that you're hearing is that you have to get a listing contract signed and that's it, I'm walking out of there, come hell or high water. Okay, well that's when the price, when it should be $300, you're listing it for $350. You know, when we should be doing a 6-month listing contract, you're doing a 2-month listing contract because that's the only thing that you're focused on. When your focus is, you are laser focused on, you got the horse blinders on solving that problem, understanding what the problem is, that's when you're going to walk out of there with a solution. That's how they approach every client.
I want to pause this training right here. Matt, I want to turn the live video off, but before you do that, real talk for real estate kings, guys. If you're in real estate and you find this stuff valuable, I'm about to get into the real stuff. I'm about to get into the questions you're supposed to ask. I'm about to figure out how you can actually help sellers, how you can close more deals, how you can get really, really good at this shit. If you want to find out how to do all that, you got to be in the private group. This entire live recording is going to be hosted only in the private group after this. So if you've watched this live replay and you want to get all this detail, get in the group.
Get
Real
there.
Talk for Real Estate Kings. Check it out. All right. So asking better questions, guys. What questions do we ask? Well, here's where it gets really deep. If you start with the helping mentality, right? If you start by saying to a seller or any person you're in front of, I want to help genuinely want to help create a solution for you, right? I'm here to help you whether I buy the house or not. How does that make you feel, Travis? If I say to you, I'm here to help you create a solution whether I buy the house or not.
More comfortable.
It immediately puts you at ease, right? So if I come to your house and you say, okay, well, I'm going to go meet with an investor, this big fucking scary investor, your immediate thought is, this guy's coming to steal my house. This guy's coming to lowball me. I'm on the defense, right? Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Well, I need to get 120 for this house. This dude's going to come in at $75,000, right? Like, this guy's going to knock my socks off. How am I going to get out of this thing alive? And you're scared. You got a wall up. You're defensive as hell. You don't know how you're going to get out of the situation. Maybe you're behind on your mortgage. You're behind on your taxes. You've got all kinds of situations in front of you. God knows what you're dealing with, right? And then this dude jumps out of his truck and, you know, he's raring to go. He looks like an asshole with a vest on and he's ready to take advantage of you, right? If I come at you and I say, Travis, I want to help you whether I buy this house or not. I want to help create a solution for you. I'm already in the power position, right? I'm already confident because I'm the guy with the experience on how to create real estate solutions, right? But now I'm not an asshole anymore because I just told you I'm going to help you no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Boom, immediately your blood pressure just dropped like 30 points. Right, immediately just went down. So you're putting your guard down and you're saying, oh, thank God. You know what? I've been waiting for someone to say that to me.
It's because it goes from what the outcome of that appointment is, that where they think that this is strictly for the investor's benefit, to where it gets flipped to where it's for seller's benefit or the buyer's benefit, whoever it is you're meeting with. When you take it and you make them understand that this is for their benefit so we can solve it, That's when that wall is down. Instead of you sitting on, you know, the chair, the ottoman, they're on the couch. Now you're sitting on the same couch next to each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. So then when it comes to the point where you have to ask better questions, right? Those better questions might actually be difficult questions, but you're on the same page with them, right? So these helping questions might be, listen, I need you to level with me. Where are you at in this situation? How bad is it? What's the mortgage look like? How many payments are you behind? Like, what do I have to do to help you? What do you have to do to get caught up? Where are you at? Do you have credit card debt that you're working off of? What's the next step? Where are you going to go when we get you out of here? You know, again, I used the situation when we first sat down with, you know, you have an old lady and she has all her equity in her house and she's moving into a senior community. That's a perfect example. That's a home run, easy peasy deal. All we're doing there is like trying to make an old lady love us, right, and feel comfortable. That's pretty easy to do. Most old ladies, I'm sure, love you when they meet you, right? You're a wine som. I mean, you pour them wine, they're probably looking up at you with stars in their eyes and drinking wine, and I'm sure they all love you. But now let's put ourselves in a situation where you're dealing with a family who's struggling. They need to make a transition. You know, let's assume they have equity in their house, but they just can't pay their taxes, and dad was laid off, or, you know, whatever hardships. We're dealing with people who have real hardships, right?
Very much so.
And we have to help them. And let me tell you, from 10, 12 years of doing this, like your heart gets tugged at. I mean, I've cried at the table with these people before, right?
They're challenging situations.
So how do we actually create a win-win for them? Well, we create a win-win by understanding every piece of the solution for them and trying to literally, and by the way, this is where it gets fun for me. This is why the job, I actually get sad that I don't get to go on these appointments anymore, because you guys take out all the fun. Like, the most fun part of the job is what you guys get to do. The acquisitions of going out and meeting with sellers is absolutely my favorite part of the job. Like, sometimes it's crazy, you never know what you're walking into, sometimes you get disgusting cat houses and you don't want to sit there, sometimes you have really nice houses and the people are pompous assholes. Sometimes you have that ability to really deliver true value to people. You really don't know what you're going to run into, but I like the psychology of being able to control the situation. And when you hit them, I'm telling you, with that first sentence of "I'm going to help you," watching that, like, really? All right. And then that like solemn, like, okay.
They know you're not there for blood.
And everything gets easier, right? So asking those better questions and then getting to the situation. Situation is always greater than money.
Yeah.
Always. In fact, we don't even talk about money until we know situation. So whether or not you want to jump into an offer, whether or not, in fact, sometimes it'll happen backwards, right? Sometimes you get a guy or girl, whoever you're talking to, overwhelmingly interested in selling, right? Look, I inherited this pile of shit from my uncle and I just need to get out of it. Just fucking give me an offer so I can get all of my debt. Right? You're going to get those, right? I wanted the situation even more, right? The ARV on it's 150, you're out there to get it for 75, and the guy's like, just give me 40 grand, get the fuck out of here, right? I'm not saying don't buy it for 40. What I'm saying is don't get in your car until you know all the players, until you know all the chess moves, until you know what the fuck's going on, until you know how this guy got the deal. You gotta ask better questions, right? Because what's gonna bind us up in the situation is all the players involved. You gotta know the entire story, right? It's like reading a book and getting the cliff notes. And someone's like, man, did you read that book? And you're like, oh man, that thing was powerful. Yeah, okay, cool. What were your big takeaways? And you got the cliff notes, and you're like, I know these 10 points about the book. And you're like, yeah, but how about that story he told about his nephew? And you're like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, right? Because you didn't read the book, right? There's a lot more to the book, but we just got the top 10 takeaways because we got the cliff notes. Or worse yet, there's that new website that does like books in like a minute and a half. You know what I'm talking about? Anybody know what that is? It's like it literally gives you the highlights of a book in 90 seconds. I'm not shitting you. I can't think of the name of the service right now.
Don't tell me that.
Don't fucking do that. I swear, it's the worst. I've done it a few times and I'm like, God, all it does is make me want to go read the book now.
I don't want to know what's like.
But like, if you get too abbreviated of a synopsis, we can't create a solution. So sometimes if it's too good to be true, chances are it's too good to be true. So when we get into a situation like that, we really need to get deeper into the situation. When somebody brings us a deal back, you're going to find, when you guys are talking to me or you're talking to Mark, I want to know everything about the situation. I'll say to you, hey, numbers sound good, tell me about the deal. And when I say tell me about the deal, I want to know, it's a divorced couple, she's living in Mount Laurel with her 2 kids, she got custody, he's living with his girlfriend in Cherry Hill, they need to get rid of the house, they have 50 grand in equity in the property, they're going to end up selling it, they've been out of the house now for 6 months, been sitting vacant, there's no oil tanks, I walk the property, we have pictures, blah, 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 we're running title right now. Like, I already know about the situation, I know where they're living, I know why they have it, they're fine with the equity, they both have jobs, they're not behind on the mortgage. Okay, cool, we got it all laid out. You know what I mean? What I don't like is when we come back and we're like, yeah, I talked to the husband, he's ready to unload it. It's a divorce. Well, where's the wife? I don't know, I didn't ask. Was there any kids? Fuck if I know. Right? Because it leads to all kinds of problems in the future. It's very similar, Mark, to like retail real estate sales, right? You get into these deals where you go list the property and you never even walk through it to know if it has fucking oil heat or gas heat or electric or aluminum wiring or old roof, good roof, bad roof, what's the house look like? And then you throw the listing into the MLS and realtors start calling you about it and you're like, I don't know. Well, fuck, it's your job to know.
Yeah, you have to know. You have to know the product that you're selling.
Yep.
Right? You have to know the product that you're selling, because if you don't know the product you're selling, you're not going to be able to sell it here to anybody no matter what. And the same thing, so your product that you're selling is solutions.
Yep.
So if you don't know that, if you're not finding out what that situation is, then you have to sit there and you have to understand, because when you go out and you're meeting with someone, you're talking to someone, they have an idea. They may have an idea about what they want the outcome to be. They don't know how to get there, but they also don't know if that's the best outcome for the situation. And they're not going to know that until you dial into what that situation is. Because they may sit there and think that they only have one option and that's it. But when you understand the situation and what our value is and the different options that we can bring to them, then all right, then maybe we have option, you think there's option 1, now we have 2 and 3, that this may be a better fit for you. This may work out better for you. It may work out better for you today, but it also may work out better for you in 6 months, a year down the road. So I need to understand where it is, with the situation that you're in now, where do you want to be in a year? How can I help you get there? How can I solve that problem?
The other thing is, once we get through a lot of questions, by the way, I'm going to list some of the questions that we go through. We're helping them. We're asking better questions. We're learning the situation, right? The next thing is, we're going to explain to them that it has to become a win-win, right? So when I'm talking to a seller, I'm saying to them, listen, I understand your situation. Understand our situation is we're running a business, right? Now I'm not jumping to this. I've spent now a half hour, 45 minutes. I've learned their story. I know where they're coming from. I know what they need proceeds-wise. I understand the equity they have in their property. I know how long they've lived there. I know where they're packing up and moving to, if they're selling the house, if it's an estate sale. Before we even get to this point, by the way, which is really important to note, we're qualifying to make sure all the decision makers are present at the property before we get there. And the way we do that, which I kind of skipped over, is we're on the phone, hey, Mr. Seller, we're going to meet you there tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Just want to make sure all the decision makers are going to be there, be present. I use the term decision makers, right? Why do I use that term decision makers?
Anyone wants to say. And
it's awesome.
Yeah. It's not necessarily the people that are the owners of the property. It's the people who have to say as far as what's going to happen.
It's not, yeah, exactly. It's not the owners. It's not the people on deed. Because guess what? It could be your girlfriend makes all the decisions. It could be your kids have a say in you selling the house. It could be you're the executor, Travis, but you have 2, 3 brothers and sisters that have all kinds of questions and all kinds of say, right? Well, you know what, Travis? That's awesome. I love that. I'll be on the phone with you and you'll say, well, I'm the executor. Well, that's cool. Is there anyone else involved? That's it, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I got 2 sisters. Okay, cool. How are they in the whole thing? Well, they both live in Kansas and they don't give a shit. All right, well, if they don't give a shit, you're just going to make the decisions when we can meet there. Well, one of them's got to, all right, well, can we get them on the phone?
Get them on the phone.
Let's get them on the phone. Or, they're local. Well, cool, let's see if we can meet there in person, because you know what? Here's what's going to happen. Me and you are going to spend an hour. We're going to get this deal done tomorrow. I'm going to shake your hand. And then you're going to go back and then you're going to get all kinds of flack from them. So I'd rather them hear it from me in person or over the phone so I can handle any objections that they have right there on the spot. And all 4 of us can be on the same page at the same time. Is that fair? Right? I always end with a question.
Yep.
Is that fair? Right? Because I want them to be on the same page with me before I get out there and find I'm getting blindsided at 3:30 on a Tuesday when I've already set up my time to go out and have a meeting with this guy and then I find out after spending an hour with him negotiating a great deal, I can't execute on a deal because his sister, who doesn't know anything about me, doesn't like the deal that we just got done. Because you're a trained killer to go out there and put great deals together, and for you to spend all that time wasted just to have to do it again with a sister, complete waste of everybody's time. So let's not waste our time. Let's make sure all the decision makers are there. Now, once we've gone through building some rapport, which, by the way, these first 3 steps are all rapport building, right? We're genuinely trying to help. We're genuinely asking great questions, hard questions, and we're genuinely learning about the situation. But once all that's said and done, we have to be very upfront about, Travis, I'm here because we have to create a win-win. Okay? In order for me to help you, in order for me to do a deal like this, it has to be a way that I can make money at it and I can get you out of your situation. I have to be upfront with you about that, because if I can't buy your property for a number that makes sense for us to go out and make money on it some way, then there's no way I can create a solution for you. So here's how, and then we present, right? At that point, once I know their situation, we may start to frame an offer, right? So Travis, knowing what I know now about the situation, knowing that you were trying to get $90,000 for the offer, or for the property, what is it that you're thinking you have to get for the property? And you're still trying to get 90. Okay, so in a perfect world, I would do cartwheels out your front door if we can get this house for $45,000. I know that's not going to be possible, Travis, but knowing what we know now, knowing the situation, is there somewhere in between that you can kind of meet me in the middle? Is there somewhere we can kind of get together on? Is there a number that makes better sense for you that we can kind of get together so I can help you create a solution, so I can help you move your family to South Carolina, so I can help you get on with your life and get your kids in the school system that you want them in, get them closer to their grandparents? Is there a number that helps make that ground, help us find medium ground somewhere, right? Help me help you, Travis. And maybe they come up with a number, right? Maybe we come a little bit closer to where we need to be, right? The whole idea is you can't even ask that question until we've developed a little bit of a relationship, right? And you can't know the situation unless you've asked about the situation. And they're not telling you the situation until you've told them you're going to help them. I think the biggest challenge a lot of acquisitions people do is they lead with this, and they never get to that question.
Right.
They never understand the situation. They start with this. They don't want to create a win-win. They want to create a win, right? Mm-hmm. And they want to create this. You can't get this unless you do all of this.
Because without this, when you're talking numbers, and you're throwing out a number that will work for us, may not work for them, they just think you're throwing something up against the wall. Right? With no rationale, no reason behind it. It's this guy's just throwing something at me, trying to get me the lowest it possibly can so he can get the most amount of money. It's not understanding exactly what the situation is. And it's also what understanding about the process about how you kind of came to that number. So they understand and they get it that you're not throwing shit up against the wall to see if it sticks and you can just rub one over on them. You know what I mean? But when all that is built, how they question you on that number really goes down. That gets dialed down a whole lot, and it's not gonna be grilling you because they're starting to trust you and understand that you're there for them. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so some of the things I'd like to ask, you'll constantly hear me say these things, and I highly recommend you kind of like put them into your repertoire of speech pattern when you're starting to talk to sellers. I love asking them, that's awesome, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like if they'll start to get into their situation, you have some more too. Their situation with their move, or their transition, or so what's that look like for you? Okay, we're going to be, we're moving to Mount Laurel. Okay, cool. Well, when do you want to be there? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What's that transition look like? When is an ideal time for that to happen? Do you need to be in there by school? So just tell me more. Lead them through the conversation. The more we get them talking, the more comfortable they're getting with each and every sentence, each and everything that they're saying, right? If we ever get into a point where they ask us something that we're uncomfortable with and you don't want to answer, one of the best ways to control conversation is to repeat back to them, that's a great question, let me ask you this, right? Just divert. It's so simple because it's controlling the conversation. They might say to you, what's your offer? That's a great question, but let me ask you this. Just based on the situation, Do you think that you need to be out of here in the next month or 2 months or 3 months and then just completely, sidetrack it, right? Because we don't want to jump directly into, now they're going to want to lead, a nervous seller is going to want to lead with, what's the number, what's the number, what's the number, what's the number, right? We're trying to drive home, what's the situation? So listen, that's a great question. But in order for me to help you, I need to know more about the situation. Because for us, it's not all about the number.
Right.
It's about creating a solution. We don't just use that word solution under this roof, right? It's truly, really, actually a thing. We're actually trying to create a solution.
Right.
So for you to use it in your speech pattern, it makes perfect sense.
Right.
We're trying to create solutions, right, Mark?
Yeah. And then, when you look at it as far as telling me why is the most powerful question. That people don't ask enough. Because, understanding the why really helps you dial in to exactly what it is they want to accomplish. And when you're asking, if they're explaining something to or you're going back to them with some kind of retort, and you feel that they're coming against you or coming back to you, sorry, tell me why. Just explain to me why. In a very soft tone. You're not going back and tell me why. It's not defensive. It's I really need to understand why.
Right.
Because if this isn't something that's fair for you, then I need to understand why. And that's kind of going down to, is that fair for you? When you're presenting solutions, is that fair for you? And I think it's crucial that you end with the for you. Because if you just say, is that fair? Yeah, it's fair for you as the investor. As Mark, it's fair for you. I don't know, that's not what I'm asking. I don't know, is this fair for you?
I actually use that term, will that work for you? I think it's the same terminology. Does that work for you? Can we make that work for you? You have to interject some of your own wording there. You have to make it comfortable for you, but it has to be your speech pattern. And it has to be, again, these are all great questions, right? And that's why we say ask better questions. We have to continue. If you are not, the best salespeople are the ones that just continue to ask great questions. You're never closing. You're never really saying, you're never going to see us in this office teach closing questions. We're never going to sit there and say, okay, you ready to sign? I got the contracts ready for you. I got the number ready for you. Let's get this thing done. We're never at that point. What we're doing is we're continuing to build rapport and comfort level and help until they're finally like, you know what, I think this is the right thing. Okay, cool, I got some paperwork, we can go
the
on.
knowledge questions. You want to ask knowledge questions. If you're not asking knowledge questions, you're never going to have anything closed. You're not. But when you're asking all those knowledge questions, you don't have to worry about closing because they're coming in and closing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what else, Mark? So we got to the point where we've gotten to the point where we have some numbers that work for them. We want to leave on a note where we are close enough to our number that's going to make it work, but we want to set future expectations. So in this office, what we're trying to do is we're trying to set that closing date out at least 45 days, maybe 60 days. And the way we do that is, obviously some sellers want to close quick, right? So the way I'll leave it open-ended is when we're reviewing the contract, I'll say to them, look, let's put 45 or 60 days out there. So today's, October 19th. Let's call it December 19th. On or before December 19th. That gives us time to run title, and if anything pops up, we have some wiggle room in there. We'll do our best to close it sooner, and really it depends on your ability to move out and stuff like that. Believe it or not, 60 days goes by like that, right? As you know, sometimes I like to use the word as you know. That's NLP, by the way, as you know. Because you're basically telling them without telling them. Yeah. As you know, Travis, 60 days goes by fast. I'm assuming that you already assumed that 60 days goes by fast. And 60 days goes by like that. If we can close sooner and it's cool with you, we will. But for now, this gives us some wiggle room to do the title work, get everything processed, and gives you some time to move out of the property and get everything situated. So we'll do on or before 60 days. We have a 30-day due diligence phase. In that time, we will do a quick inspection of the property. We'll have the inspector here probably in the next 48 hours, so I'll have access to having Dylan come through in the next 48 hours. What he'll do is he'll do a really thorough report of the property. He'll come through, he'll take about 200 pictures of the house, just get all the nitty-gritty of all the property. That way we can do a thorough report, really make sure we're on track and everything's good to go. Here's the thing, and this, you don't say this to the seller, but you're probably going to, if you got your number, that's awesome. Fucking high five, you hit a home run, right? Let's say your number in this scenario was 45. Right. And you hit your number. It's awesome. If you got them to 45, that's great. You did a great job. Let's say you left there at 60 and you had that gap. Right. When you go to sign the contract, you're going to say to them, look, we know you know, maybe 45 was on the low end and 50 was really the right number. You know, ideally, 50, I think 50 is really the right number, but we're going to do this at 60. I'm going to do my best to get you to 60. Know that, you know, it might be a little, just as long as you'll work with me on this, I'm going to do my best to get you 60. I have bosses I have to report to. I'm going to bring this contract back to them, and I'm going to, you know, show it to the team, and I'm going to do my best to get you to 60. I'm going to work with you.
Right.
Now, again, you know the situation. You know what they're working with. You know they have all the equity in the world. You know that they're getting 60 grand at closing or 55, whatever. So you know that they need X amount of dollars to move to South Carolina, and they're living with their in-laws or whatever the situation is. So you know the story. If you don't know this whole story, you can't piece it together. You know what I'm saying? So you know that extra 10 grand is bonus money, for example. I'm going to do my best, Travis, to try to get you that $60,000. I'm going to work with you. But I'm going to bring this report back. I'm going to get the inspection done tomorrow. We're going to analyze everything. We're going to have that due diligence phase. And we're going to try to get this thing sold for you. Here's the thing. When we market the property, we have the ability in the paragraph to market your property. We genuinely don't know what we're going to do with your property. That's why we have the ability to close your house in the next 60 days. And we might rent it. We might rehab it. We might just fix up the kitchen and put it back on the market. We might rip this whole thing to shreds and fix it all up and do a major rehab to it. Truthfully, until I bring this thing back to the team and show them what we got, we don't know what we're going to do. That's why we have the right to market it. So you might see this thing back on the market at 100 grand. You might see it back on at 150. You might see it back on at 1 million. I have no idea. And it's going to be on Zillow. It's going to be on the MLS. It's going to be all over the place. That's why we have the right to market it that way. So, you know, Mark, I'm going to introduce you to the team. You know, Marc Ricci is going to be the dispositions manager. His job is to figure out what the right fit is for your house. So when I bring him back this contract, he's going to figure out, is an investor going to buy it to keep it as a rental property? Are we going to keep it as a rental property? Are we going to fix it up and flip it? Are we going to sell it to someone else, fix it and flip it? I have no idea, but Mark's going to figure that out. Okay? The important thing to you, Travis, is that you get your $60,000 in the next 60 days. Fair enough? And that's how we explain it, right? So we don't use the term wholesale, even though a lot of times we're going to wholesale that contract, because the truth of the matter is we might keep it. We do keep a bunch of them. So we're not lying. We're telling them the truth. We don't know what we're going to do with our property. Sometimes you're going to go out and buy a property and take it back, and fucking Brian's going to steal it from him. He's not going to let him wholesale it. So, you know, even though you're in the wholesale space, and you know the goal is to take your contract and wholesale it to another investor, chances are there's a lot of times we're going to keep it, and we're going to just keep it for ourselves, and you're going to get paid. You won't see the difference. The acquisitions guys don't really know the difference. Right. Whether we buy it or whether we wholesale it, you get paid the same amount. But internally, we take that deal and we decide what to do with it, and we, you know, figure it out. Yeah. So that's how we explain the right to market. Because a lot of it, I think that's one of the challenges as acquisitions guys we come up with a lot is like, how do I explain we're going to market your property? Well, that's how we explain it. That's how I've been explaining it for 10 years. You know. Because it's the truth. Yeah. I don't know, you know, you might see it on Craigslist for 75 grand. You might see it on Zillow for 95 grand. You might see it on, you know.
So why can't they think, well, why can't I do that?
Because the fact is that they're already talking to you. You've already created a solution for them. Right. And truly what's important to them is getting to closing in 60 days. By the time they've gotten done having the conversation with you and you've left that house, they feel like a weight has been lifted off their shoulders. You've created a solution for them, and the deal is getting done, and they don't have to worry about it anymore.
You can understand they're calling us because they don't want to do anything.
Right.
They don't want to do anything. They don't want to do anything with the property. They just want to be done. They want someone to walk in. Here's the solution to it. We'll take it off your plate. We'll take care of it. We will handle everything beginning to end. They don't want to sit down and have to worry about that.
And they may have been embarrassed even to have you over the first time. A lot of these people don't want anybody through their house.
Yeah.
We have access to 5,000 investors throughout South Jersey. The reason we can make that spread is because we have access to all these buyers. They don't typically have access to these people. They found us off of a postcard that we sent to them. It's not like there's a yellow pages for investors to call. You know what I mean?
Because you watch a YouTube video of heart surgery doesn't mean you can go do it.
Yeah. So, you know, that's why we have the ability to do all these things. We're a marketing company.
Right.
You know, we have the ability to go out and market a bunch of different genres and figure out what to do with it. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, they could make a little bit more if they went out and did this as a full-time job. But this guy's probably, you know, working a full-time job. His wife's working a full-time job. They're just trying to get out from underneath this situation that they're in, right? Yeah. And, you know, we don't... The one thing about us is we're like absolutely, like, transparent. Like, we're just in-your-face transparent. Like, we're marketing your house. Like, a lot of wholesalers, the way they get themselves in trouble is they pretend that they're doing one thing and they're not. Like, the reason that the sellers love us is because we're just straight up in your face. Like, look, this is what we're doing. And, we're putting signs out. We're going to have, shit. If you can, we'll put a sign in your front yard. The one thing that we generally don't do is put signs in their front yard because they don't want the exposure.
Right.
They want to know that it's off market. And, they don't care that it's on Zillow, but they don't want shit in their front yard. So it's about the only thing we don't do is put a sign in your front yard. So your goal is to leave there with a contract and leave there with a key and say, hey, as long as they're not living there, obviously,
Right.
but, if it's vacant, got a lockbox, got a key, or if you have a copy of the key, I can take that now. We'll put a lockbox on the front. I'll be the only one with the access to it. We'll be showing people. We have to bring inspectors and contractors and stuff through to take measurements and stuff like that. I'll let you know every time we're coming through the property. Be in touch with you and that type of thing. That'll allow us to get our inspectors and everyone through the property, and we'll be able to get this done for you without any hardship and stuff like that. Make it easier for you. Again, your goal is solutions, right? Easy concierge type thing, which again you're used to.
And everything that we do, every step that we take is to the solution.
Right.
Everything that we do is to solve the problem. So when you're explaining them that, and it's every single step that we do, every piece of marketing that we put out there, every contractor we bring in, every inspector that we bring in, is to make sure that we come to the solution that we're sitting here and talking about.
Right.
So yeah, have the servant's mindset in there. That's the biggest. I think the biggest takeaway is have the solution and the servant's mindset, helping them, asking the great questions. I should put give me that thing. Sometimes the hard questions, right?
I think one other piece too that you got to be versed on too is that you're going out and you're really kind of crafting a story when you're out there. There's the beginning, you got the middle, you got the end. So we're talking about all this, and you want to finish with the end, right? So you're going out there, you're diagnosing what the situation is, what the problem is, how you can come up with a solution, what the options are for the solutions. You're talking about some of the steps about getting to that end. And when you're leaving and you're finishing up that story, I think part of it is you want to explain what that end is, and part of that process that, he talked about introducing myself, and Mark's going to be taking care of this, but I also want you to understand that other people on my team, Michelle's going to be reaching out to you, who's going to be taking you through the closing process to see everything come to a conclusion for you, okay? Because when you're explaining to them that there's people that are there to see them at the end, that wraps up the entire story.
Right.
That completes the story for them.
Right.
So they want to hear that this is what the process is for the conclusion to.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Awesome.
You good?
Yeah.
Let's get at it, man.
Cool. So if you're watching this on Real Talk site, members only site, and you watched it to the end, thank you very much. Do me a favor, comment below if you have any questions, if you have any additions to this. This is just a kind of a brief overview of a little bit of our seller process and what we do when we meet with people. If you have any other ideas as far as providing solutions to
Love to
sellers,
hear.
maybe some niche things that you do, I'd love to hear about them below in the comments so we can share. That's a sharing community, and appreciate you guys watching. Thank you.
Thanks all.